I've got the looks and the charm of an old movie star. Cary Grant, if you will, so I find it bizarre that this girl should refuse to step into my car. She must be shy, she'll come around, it's just a matter of time. Aurora, Aurora.
Hey there, Screen Beans, and welcome to Screen Snark, the podcast that celebrates all of the shows that are in our eyes, on our minds, and in our hearts. I am Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I am Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
And my intros get weirder every week.
Well, that's also because you get weirder every week, so it's
I
just
do. I'm just slipping further and further, just like off the map. Goodbye.
I'm very excited for our guest. I want to introduce her right away. She is an incredible nerdy human who I know through many different avenues. She's the incredible Jessica Howard. Jessica, welcome.
Jessica Howard.
Oh my God, I love the energy already. I know the listeners cannot see Rachel's energy, but it's incredible.
I'm like,
I
I have
hand
to keep
gestures,
moving.
It's so good.
Or I have to keep moving or I literally will fall asleep.
Yeah, it's true.
That's fair.
Sure.
We are approaching my new bedtime, so this is when I get like punky, which is gonna be great.
Jess, I'm really excited to have you on. You have also not that long ago did an episode of Side Quest, which is also on the network, which I was very grateful for. We're going to talk more about your games journalism, your writing, and all your badassery podcast hosting in a bit. But, as always, we start off by talking about the most recent things we've watched.
Yes.
And I will go first.
Yes.
I watched an entire Amazon series over the last few weeks with my spouse that started in one place and then got batshit really quick. It is, of course, the comic book adaptation of the Robert Kirkman comic book extravaganza, Invincible.
I too have witnessed Invincible as a piece.
I love the idea of you don't watch it, you witness it. I feel like that's very accurate.
You know, based on where that story goes,
Yeah.
it feels like I was a witness.
It does.
Like, truly.
For those who have not watched Invincible, Invincible is a superhero comic book written by Robert Kirkman, the creator of The Walking Dead. And the animated series had an all-star cast. It was on Amazon, and it was also, I believe, showrun by Mr. Robert Kirkman. I know he's involved with it at least. And I had been hearing things about it. Fellow network member, the incredible Case Aiken, did a primer on the comic book for Men of Steel when the show was coming out. And in a few weeks from now, I will be editing, spoilers, I guess, an episode of the full season that they're going to discuss, J. Mike and Case. And so I was like, well, I guess I've got to watch it if I'm editing that episode, because otherwise I'm going to be spoiled.
You're gonna know what happens.
Yeah. And so I watched it and I enjoyed it. Enjoy is a strange word to use with it. I appreciate it. I think it is well done, but I think it also is very visceral in a way that made me uncomfortable, which is the intent of the piece. And I don't really want to give too much away on it because I feel like so I'll say this. If you are listening now and you want zero spoilers for Invincible, maybe jump 15 minutes and then scan backwards and see where you are. Because I have to do minor spoilers, I think, for at least the first episode, just to kind of convey why this thing is so visceral. Jess, have you had a chance to watch Invincible?
So I have not yet watched it, but I read the comics a long time ago in a galaxy far away. So I know everything that happens in the first season. I have read to that point, though it was very long ago.
Okay, well, that's good then.
Yeah.
Essentially, this is not a parody on Superman, but like, what if Superman were actually not here to help us? Is essentially, I think, the crux of the story around Omni-Man, but also what if he reproduced and his offspring didn't agree? And so like the broad strokes of this comic and this cartoon are really interesting, but I had trouble with. I think it portrayed some people really well, and it showed some things really well. And then I think it also short-shrifted other things. But I think ultimately it was an interesting exploration of superherodom a la a similar thing with The Boys, which I've only seen and read a little bit of. But like this idea of what if we bended what our PG superheroes were actually doing is how I view it, at least.
I dig that. I think that's really apt. I think that I'm on the end where some of the major story beats fall flat to me, and I think it's the extension of how long we get the ultimate why of our inciting incident in episode 1. It just is. It takes a while. It's a very, very slow burn, and I do not think that it earns such a slow burn because like we're left with so much that we could have explored and played with, and I know they're probably going to get a season 2 and go into that, but it's still kind of like this feeling of like you have co-opted my emotions and you waited way too long to give me any sort of catharsis or payoff, and then like you hit us with a Mack truck of just drama, and then it's over. It's very Kirkman.
Yes.
Walking Dead season 2, we're doing dramatic to do dramatic. That's where I am on it. Beautifully animated, wonderfully voice acted. If you want to just do an afternoon and you don't want to read the comic, there you go.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that why I did love it is the voice cast. I would say that I agree with you, Rachel. I think it didn't leave me hanging. I think I was along for the ride. It was kind of like I equate it to like some of the early Doctor Who I'd watch where like every episode is like, oh, why is this happening? And then they like bring you obviously the big reveal at the end. The Doctor explains everything. And this like it drags that out even longer. But like I think the masterful acting is what kept me involved. Like J.K. Simmons has played a lot of different characters, but him as Nolan Grayson, aka Omni-Man, I think is probably one of the best performances he's ever done. And what's interesting about it is vocally, it's very akin to J. Jonah Jameson. Like his voice isn't that different from the couple of times he's been animated J. Jonah Jameson or even like the old Spider-Man movies. Like I can hear that voice is similar, but the performance is so different that it just kind of is a little mind-blowing to me.
Oh yeah, like just the way that he's using his instrument to almost embiggen himself, like J. Jonah is that same voice and you can hear it all the time, but like it's got this like growl, this sort of like barking sound, because that's like the music of J. Jonah Jameson, but like Omni-Man is definitely more like fluid and melodic and like I forget that J.K. Simmons has a very soothing voice. Yeah. It's just he doesn't play a lot of very soothing characters. No. And like this time it's just like, of course he would be like the strongest of all of us.
Right. The series also has a lot of not day players, but like just really great working actors doing incredible roles. Like Zachary Quinto was Robot. Gillian Jacobs is Adam Eve, and to see Gillian Jacobs also have a range, like she's great in Community, and I love Gillian Jacobs in Community, which is arguably her biggest role, probably before this. But you get to hear the same voice do things and say things and react in ways that character didn't, and I think it's just a lot of the actors on this are just doing their own voice, with the exception of the incredible Kevin Michael Richardson, who has voiced so many different characters. Like he as the Mahler twins is obviously doing what he does best, but a lot of the other actors are kind of just acting.
Yeah, Jason Mantzoukas just sounds like
Jason Mantzoukas.
Jason, like it's like I'm listening to How Did This Get Made?
Right.
It's great. I was really surprised when what's his character's name?
Rexplosion.
Rexplosion. I was amazed that Rexplosion didn't fuck a pillow, He loved that pillow. Thank you. This is not a big mouth call out. He and those pillows, they had a real thing going.
But yeah, like I think it's had a really good balance of like acting actors who are just really good at playing characters and voice acting legends. Because like Clancy Brown and Mark Hamill were both in this as well, who are not only legends in voice acting, but legends in DC animated voice acting. You have Lex Luthor and the Joker playing roles in this, and like that is definitely on purpose. That's not an accident that folks like that were cast in this. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that I want to talk too much more about it, just because, again, in order to really dive deep into this, we would have to do a spoiler filled, like, dedicated episode, which might be worth exploring, especially since you felt so differently about it than me, Rachel. But like, I think that if you're looking for something comic book related that's in the vein of The Boys, or in the vein of like trying to do something different with our preconceived notions of the MCU and comic books, I think this does it really well. I'm curious, Jess, how you felt about the comics. Did you like the original comic run that you read?
From what I read, yeah. I think it's because I started this probably, gosh, I don't even, when did the comics first start coming out? I feel like it was probably in my early 20s. And it was around, I remember reading stuff like Watchmen when I was like 16, and starting to get into kind of like the Frank Miller Batman books and things like that. And it feels very much in line, because I feel like early 2010s, we kind of went back to this sort of more optimistic look at superheroes in a lot of comics, or there was a lot of like cool sci-fi stuff going on as far as like Saga, and like Brian K. Vaughan is just awesome. He's always doing interesting things, like American Vampire. So it was interesting to kind of read something that felt almost like a callback to like the 80s, 90s kind of cynical political view in comics, because that's kind of what it feels like to me, and that's kind of what The Boys is like, feels like too, is it's that very like Watchmen, like, what if the powers at be are corrupted? What if power always does cause corruption? And that's always kind of an interesting rabbit hole to fall down.
Yeah,
so
totally.
I remember liking it. And I've been meaning to get around to watching it. I also was the same person who, like, everybody was telling me you have to watch The Boys, and I really wanted to, and I finally got around to watching it when season 2 was ending. So that's when I started it.
Yeah,
so
I wasn't. Oh, go ahead.
Oh no, I'm just chronically late to stuff like this. So.
Oh, I'm still supposed to watch The Boys eventually, and I'm sleeping on it.
It's good. It's a good one. I do recommend it.
Yeah, I wasn't planning on watching this. I was like, oh, I'll get to it eventually. And then knowing that I was going to edit that episode of Men of Steel, I was like, well, before I push it back to Case, because Case has edited episodes if I don't want to be spoiled on something. And so I could have, but I was like, you know what? I've been wanting to watch it anyway. Let's see if my spouse Sarah likes it, and if she does, we'll watch it. And the first couple of episodes, she was like, oh, I don't know. And then, like, as the big reveal starts to pick up momentum, the first one, she was like, can we watch another one? And I was like, I guess she's hooked. And so, it is graphically violent in the same way that The Walking Dead is often, in the comics especially, was graphically violent. And some of it, like, some of it was too much for my spouse, which I totally get. And a lot of it, even I turned away from. But, like, I also understand it because it's exploring, well, what if Omni-Man didn't pull his punches? What if Superman essentially didn't pull his punches? What kind of things would happen to other beings, let alone physical things? And, like, I get the purpose of displaying that, but it did in the animation sometimes feel gratuitous, But, again, I'm conflicted because I feel like that's kind of the point.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there was a way to get to the hyper violence that would have given it more space to be there.
Yeah.
I'm thinking a lot, and not to get, again, we're trying really hard not to be spoilery, but I think a lot of it could have been in like hard indoctrination.
Yeah.
Like I think if Omni-Man really wanted to follow through with a plan that Omni-Man has, like indoctrinating is probably a more like valid approach.
Yeah.
And I think like we missed that conversation in like generational belief structures being formed. And I think that really would have like added some depth and some meaning to it in our moments of defiance, and I think that really could have pushed that hyper violence further, because not only is it just like you don't see things my way, you are actively pushing against everything I try to put into your brain.
Yeah, totally. I think I think
I hope that wasn't too spoilery. Like,
I don't think so. And I told people to jump 15 minutes. And so we're coming
Yeah.
back from that spoiler section. I think ultimately for me, like, I really liked the show. I'm excited for season 2. I did really enjoy it. But I think where it fails the most is it gets up to the line in a lot of places. Some places it blows past the line, like by 10 blocks. And then in other places, it gets up to the line and then like doesn't really explore it. Like they explore poverty and racism a little bit, but like not enough that I felt like I was satisfied with how they explored it. And it did fall back on tropes. And I think I really wish they pushed it a little more. Like, you know, I mean, they cast Stephen Yeun and Sandra Oh as Mark Grayson and Debbie Grayson, and like it's really great casting, and they're Asian American in the show, but they don't really explore that at all. And I thought that was strange. I thought it doesn't have to be cliche, but I feel like them not speaking about it at all, especially since we're talking about actual literal aliens. Like it just seemed odd to not approach that at all. So yeah, I am happy with it, but I can see why it didn't measure up to you, Rachel, because I think there are definitely enough holes in it that you could fall off of it.
Yeah, I like things that are adult to be complex.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like this wanted to be, I'm a big kid, I say the fuck word without really exploring a lot more adult themes and ideas.
Right.
You know, I think it shocked to shock, but not to mean much yet. So I'm withholding all of my judgment for the whole show.
Yeah.
I'll probably read the comic because I'm just curious to see how it plays out. But
Yeah.
Kirkman's gonna Kirkman, you know.
Yeah, totally. I will say one thing that I like about the show, at least, is that a lot of the women in the show did have agency.
Hell yes.
Especially Gillian Jacobs' character, Adam Eve, like agency in a real way that you don't often get to see in superhero media. And so that was really cool. I think they still could have taken it a little further, especially with a lot of the other characters, but it didn't.
Yeah, like Duplicate and Monster Girl, like.
But it didn't fall back on tropes of like he said, she said stuff with relationship stuff that I thought it would. And I'm glad for that, at least. So I think ultimately my thesis on the show is it's hit or miss, but all in all, I thought it was a well-crafted piece and it's worth watching, even if you bounce off it. You know, with, of course, a content warning for extreme violence and some other things.
Hey, if you do media criticism based around superhero adaptations, you should watch this one.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think so. But that said, I think that kind of sums up my thoughts on Invincible.
Love it. So, Matt, if you had to sum up Invincible in just 3 words, and you can't use Vince or Bull.
It's one word. It's one word, Rachel.
What 3 words would you choose?
Bloody, brash, bombastic.
Bloody, brash, bombastic. Can I put one in? I know it isn't the thing I brought,
right?
But it came to me as in a dream. Better than Snyder.
Better, yes, absolutely, 100%, 110%.
At the very least.
Better than
it's a more interesting corrupted Superman than corrupted Superman and Snyder.
Well played, Rachel. All right.
Aha.
Well, my incredible co-host, since it's not Invincible that you're bringing, what is the thing that you have brought today?
This is nature.
Okay.
This is a lot of steps. So it all started because I watched a video on YouTube by Insider that broke down the anatomy of jump scares. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I think I have the tools to spot a jump scare when I see one. Maybe I'll watch a horror movie. And then I was on Twitter, and my friend on Twitter, at Lou Wilkesaurus, posted a GIF from the film Jennifer's Body. So I watched Jennifer's Body.
Excellent.
A bisexual classic.
And it ripped, and we all owe Megan Fox an apology.
Agreed.
Holy socks.
Yeah, I was on the
What a flick.
I was on the Megan Fox is actually a blast and fun to watch train for a long time, but Jennifer's Body is the movie that like gets you there.
Yeah, it's I mean, I've always been of the opinion that like we've been treating Megan Fox very poorly, and it's a long history of like treating attractive female celebrities just like shit. Like
Yeah.
Internalized
Britney
misogyny
Spears.
runs deep.
all that misogyny call is coming from inside the house. What are you gonna do? But Jennifer's Body is so much fun. It like I think it wants to mean something, but it doesn't quite. It's not connecting its themes enough, but I don't care because I'm like, you know what? This is broad strokes, like a parable about sexual awakening and like toxic friendships. You know, it doesn't quite like have that aha moment in the third act where you're like, oh, this is about this. You know, like how It Follows is about the stigma around sexually transmitted infections. You know, or like. The Shining is about like a mental break brought on by or like themes connecting, and you're just like, oh, I get it, I got it. And Jennifer's Body doesn't quite get there, but I don't think it cares that it doesn't, because it's just like, no, demon, it's fine. It has all that fun like campiness of like a Cabin Fever, or a Tucker and Dale versus Evil. It's just very silly and absolutely fun. I had a blast. That's all. I loved it. Amanda Seyfried and Megan Fox are just crushing it every second. I just love them. Would watch again.
I'm guessing, Jess, you are familiar with this film.
Yes, of course.
It is also a bisexual delight.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think that's a movie that I ended up watching definitely way later than it came out. Probably because I don't know, when did Jennifer's Body come out? Let's see. I'm gonna look this up because I'm curious.
Boy, it was in the time that Diablo Cody was still garnering a lot of love and respect for Juno, and this was sort of her blank check.
It looks so 2009. Okay, so 2009. I was still in high school at the time, and I feel like I definitely would have been out of my I'm not like other girls bullshit that every girl is in when they're like a freshman in high school or like in middle school, and they're like, I listen to Avril Lavigne though. But so I
listened to Avril Lavigne out loud and Taylor Swift in shame.
Exactly. So I was out of that, but it was one of those things where I was like, Megan Fox, like not super interested. It seems like it's probably a whatever movie. But then I watched it like way later, and I was like, okay, I can be a Megan Fox believer. I get it. I get why all the guys that I liked thought she was hot. I agree.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
But no, it's a good movie. I get what you mean 100% about it doesn't necessarily commit to having like this overarching, this is what you should take away from this film. But at the same time, I love the fact that it feels like that movie was women getting their own like hot fuzz, like their own like silly, comedy horror type movie.
Oh yeah, for sure. It's Zombievers, but this time feminism.
Yeah, exactly. So it's, I don't know, there was something that's, you used the word campy earlier, and that's a very accurate word. And this way, if you don't feel like, throwing on John Tucker Must Die or something at your next girls movie night, you can throw on Jennifer's Body, and it's a similar vibe, but murder.
but
much murder.
But I eat boys. They're not it's great. I eat boys. They're not people.
That's my favorite line. It's actually used. That quote is at the beginning of a Halsey song on her new record, and I just love that. It's such a good line. It's like, you're killing people. No, I'm not, silly. I'm killing boys.
Killing boys.
Dude,
Like,
It's so good.
Can you imagine too, after all the shit that Megan Fox went through, how cathartic filming that movie must have been for her?
Right.
Yeah. Just
against all the murder.
Space to let it go, you know, and also just be like really dry and funny.
Yep.
Like I think Seyfried and Fox are bringing different energies of comedy to this, but yeah, it's just it's weirdly empowering, you know, and I like that a lot, and it's pretty cool to see that like all of this is set off by like a doofus indie band, you know, who doesn't understand a cult at all, and it's great.
It really is. I'd be remiss if I didn't shout out our fellow show on the network, Another Pass, did Jennifer's Body with guest VP Morris a little while back, and talking about the minor things they tweak. But the consistent thing they talked about, and that I agree with, is that it's a good movie. There are things that are shot and certain things that are scripted that could be adjusted. The timing could be adjusted of some stuff. But for the most part, this is a delightful, campy movie that's just like, what if we let Megan Fox kill people is the core of it. And like, it's just, I grew up, even though I grew up queer and out, I feel like still in the late 2000s, I was afraid to watch girly movies, whatever the fuck that means. And so like, there was a lot of pushback from my friends to see this movie, but I remember like Jess, I saw it a while after it came out, and I was like, this is great. Why is nobody talking about how great this movie is? This movie is so great.
Liberating once you get older and like you no longer give a fuck about gender, like assigned gendered video games and movies and like, and it's so stupid because like even if you don't care about them, they're just like there are these weird things that are built up in your head over time. Like this is me playing Metal Gear Solid for the first time last year. It's like obviously I would never ever tell anyone that's a boy game, but in my head from years and years and years of me processing it as such, I just never touched it, and I started playing it. It was fucking great. So it's really liberating whenever you like cross that line and you're like, oh, I can enjoy this, and it's very enjoyable.
Yeah totally.
Yeah, and as a podcast that is pretty staunchly anti-horror, like this one, it doesn't really do a lot of the like naughty jump scares that are like, this isn't anything. Like it builds to its pitch, it releases that pressure, and then it really lets loose.
Yeah.
You know, it really follows that anatomy of a jump scare horror scene, and you can really track it. So you know that like the creative team was really like keyed in on like how do we make this a horror, and it's like we do really good disquiet and discomfort. And after having just watched that Insider video, I was like, that's the weird thing. We're keyed in. We're going into it. And like being able to like call a jump scare before it happens made it so much easier to stomach this movie. You know, because I usually like get so like anxious and uncomfortable, but then I was just like, oh, I'm clocking this as it's happening, almost like a choreographed dance. So I may start bringing more horror movies into this situation because I do like horror movies. I don't like watching horror movies.
Yeah, I think
I like what they have to say all of the time, even if this one isn't like nailing its thematic energy of like sexual liberation being misused and mismanaged to like harm others. You know, I can really sense like a very sympathetic character within Megan's Jennifer. You know, like she just kind of has to now, you know, and I imagine it's a lot of like, how do I reclaim my power after so much of me was exploited and co-opted? Like it's almost like, for lack of a better term, like a rape revenge story in a way, but it's not really like keyed in the same way as that. Like it doesn't really like give that comeuppance to those who caused harm, but it is sort of like that ripple effect of how like your harm creates harm, and that harm passes on, almost like the possession of the demon is the trauma that now is in Megan and has to come out somehow, and like it causes her to be depressed, you know, and she has to like release it again, you know. It's really interesting. I actually may be talking myself into this actually having an overarching theme about trauma and vengeance and like the toll it takes and like what it costs you. don't manage it in a healthy way. Like, is this just the story of like an unhealthy trauma?
I mean,
Like, not really. Oh, like how many people does she hurt and betray throughout all of this because she doesn't really like have a choice, quote unquote. Oh, this movie's even better the more I'm talking about it. I love this movie.
I need to rewatch it. It's been several years, and yeah, you've encouraged me. You've inspired my decision to watch this soon.
I've talked myself into it being a better movie than I walked into this conversation.
That happens a lot on this show. I feel like.
We're just like, oh, right. No, that's really cool. I'm just thinking about it.
Before we wrap up on Jennifer's Body, I just want to say back to what you were saying before, Rachel, about us not being a horror podcast, us not liking horror movies. I think as more time passes, I realize it's not that I don't like horror movies. It's like I don't like badly made horror movies or torture porn movies. Like the reason I like Us, the reason I like Get Out, the reason I like Jennifer's Body, like all of those movies and many others that I have enjoyed are smart scripts. There are like one or two jump scares that are really earned, but for the most part, there's dread and plotting that's understandable. And also, of course, for Get Out, especially, like it's sprinkled with comedy. Us is sprinkled with comedy, and so is this movie. And I think I like a horror movie that's also going to make me laugh. Those are some of my most enjoyed horror movies because I think horror and comedy. And I feel like I'm almost paraphrasing Jordan Peele at this point. Like horror and comedy are more similar than we think, and they work really well together. And it's like the old Nightmare on Elm Street movies. Like those are all horror comedy. Like Robert Englund is not playing this straight. He's being a whack job, and he's great at it.
Yeah, for sure. And I think I said this earlier, but I think I'm really gonna like solidify this together. Like I think that horror and comedy are what dance and song are.
Yeah.
They're similar in like what they're doing, but they're kind of different in the way you're executing them. Like I always say that like comedy is music because it has a rhythm, it has a timbre, you have that timing, there's that breath, and then the drop, and the expectation is met or defied. And then with horror, especially in like cinema, it is the movement of the camera, the angle of the face, like Dutch angles are a movement that like can convey something that is off kilter, something you need to be wary of, like don't overuse Dutch angles, they're kind of like the pirouette of filmmaking. You don't just want to do pirouette because then it's not cool anymore,
And we don't want it to not be cool anymore.
This is my TED Talk about horror and comedy.
I love that. I've always thought the same thing too. I mean, I think they're two of the best genres to explore uncomfortable truths in the human condition. I really like they kind of force you to confront certain things that maybe you don't always like confronting, and they also force you to what's the word that I'm looking for? I don't know, they push boundaries, and it's like sometimes they push your boundaries too far. But so it's an interesting experiment. Like it takes a lot to do either. And it's very easy. And I think this is why so many people, because I feel like a lot of people that I know feel similarly to both of you. Like they generally say, because I have some friends who are huge horror movie buffs. Like one of them is a fiction writer. She writes horror. She's like Bloody Disgusting has published her. Like she's super into horror. And I have a few other friends who are kind of like that too. Like Kate Sanchez, I talk to a lot from, but why though?
Yep.
Super into horror. But I feel like most people feel the same way as far as like they like horror when it's done well, but there's a lot that is not. And I think that goes to show you just like how easy it is to mess that stuff up, to push boundaries too far, to not be challenging enough. Like it's a very, very fine line. Of course, there are people who are going to love it all and eat it all up, but I think the majority of people do kind of find themselves in that position where there's something that like jokes, there's something that just hits their brain the right way, and it's very specific for each person.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Totally.
I would say that it is also like a powerful position to be in as storyteller, and you should you should utilize that power with a lot of respect for your audience. And like my umbrage with torture porn is the same as my umbrage with tearjerker movies. You know, like we're gonna kill the dog because it'll make you cry, and it's not like we're gonna kill the dog because it is significant to the story or the growth or the arc or whatever. You know, it's that same idea. I don't like to be emotionally messed with.
Yeah.
I like to be empathetic and I like to key into what you're doing, but if you're going to abuse that privilege to my emotions, then I have a lot of issue and a lot of problem with you, and I will not like follow your work anymore. You know, you get one chance to get it right and take me emotional places, but don't drag me there.
Well, and what's interesting
Don't
is
force me to look on it.
I feel like this ties back to our conversation about Invincible a little bit too, because there's a huge difference between creating a message and then creating manipulation. And I feel like sometimes your message can be manipulation, which in the case of something like The Boys or Invincible, maybe that is the case. Maybe that's why it is so gratuitous, and maybe that's why they go so hard, is because the message is this is supposed to make you feel really like fucking gross and uneasy. And like that's something too. But that being said, I feel the same way with like the torture porn type movies, because so much of the time I was like, this isn't your message. Like this is it. You can tell it's manipulation, and it's hard because it's all subjective, right? But like,
Yeah.
you know, I don't know. I feel like it's there's a general consensus, and you can kind of feel that. I think that's probably why so many people were so on board with something like the first Saw movie, is because that felt like that. It felt like the message was that manipulation, and you know what I mean? So like, I think that's why so many people did like those movies at the beginning, but then it kind of devolved into something else. So
Yeah. It did what sitcoms do after a time. It's a pastiche of itself.
Yeah.
yeah.
Completely.
I heard the new one was good though. I don't know. Like Spiral.
Yeah, I'm not a Saw person, but a
I'm
lot
not
of the folks I know who are fans of that have enjoyed this. So I'm curious.
Yeah.
Well, Rachel, if you had to sum up Jennifer's Body in just 3 words, and those 3 words couldn't be Jennifer's or body, what would those 3 words be?
There's so many words that I could use. I just have a bunch of them because it's a lot. Weirdly feminist horror.
There you go. I love that. Weirdly
There you go,
weirdly feminist horror.
It's weirdly horror and it's weirdly feminist.
There
you go.
All right.
You
I
could-
like that.
Megan
Yeah.
deserved better.
Yes. there you go.
Megan deserves better.
Yes.
Spooky,
Present
scary,
tense.
sexy.
Spooky,
Scary,
scary,
sexy
sexy girl.
Yeah.
Licking flames on phones.
Well, now it's our guest's turn. Jessica
Yes.
Howard, what have you brought us? What is the most recent thing you have watched?
Tell us all about it.
So, I have 2 avenues that we can go down. I don't know what y'all have watched. So, whatever is a more compelling conversation, I will let you decide, because I've watched both of these very recently.
Ooh.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
Mythic Quest on Apple Plus, or we can talk about The Circle on Netflix.
I have watched some of The Circle. I haven't finished the second season.
I haven't watched the first season. Monty.
Oh, me neither. I only started with the second season because Eric Van Allen wouldn't shut up about it in a Discord server that I'm in, or Jesse Vitelli, who I love both these humans, previous guest Jesse Vitelli. Like, they kept talking about it, and then Eric Van Allen was talking about it, and I'm just going to shout at everybody. Like, all these games folks that I'm friends with were like, this reality show you have to watch.
Okay, we got to talk about The Circle then. Let's do it. I
Yes.
finished it last night,
yeah.
so it's fresh on the dome.
Cool. I love reality TV. I haven't seen The Circle.
Are you?
But I also haven't seen Mythic Quest, but that's the one that's about the video game.
Yes.
Yes, it's
About the video game
very,
company.
very good. I do recommend watching it. It's very good.
Cool.
So, Jess, why don't you, for the listeners and Rachel,
and me.
tell
Especially me.
tell folks the basic premise of The Circle, and specifically The Circle Season 2, which is what we'll be talking about.
basic premise of The Circle sounds insufferable. just to start. So the whole thing revolves around social media. You have
Okay, so I was about to ask, is this like that book, The Circle?
Oh, like I never read the book, but I know like the movie had Emma Watson and John Boyega and stuff.
Yeah,
I never
yeah,
saw
yeah.
it. I don't know if there's a relation actually.
Okay,
There
because
could
like I
be.
know The Circle is about like mega social
Yeah.
media and like access to technology and just like this weird concept that we are never alone in a room because we have the internet everywhere now, and it's just like, nope. I'm
So,
sitting on my couch
this-
and thousands of people are on a screen.
The Circle refers to, in this case, the app that they use, and the Circle is like their inner circle of friends.
Okay.
So it's not the same thing, but it's very weird that they would like name the show that after like that whole dystopian social media thing did happen. So premise of it is okay, first of all, I'll say I'm going to explain the rules, but from what I have gathered, it's a show very much like Survivor, where like the rules just kind of change. If they think that something sounds fun, they're just going to kind of introduce it. It doesn't really necessarily always fall. They're like, sure, now we have Redemption Island because that seems like that would be fun and people would watch it. Like shit like that. So
Right.
It sounds like social media.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we're gonna add reels.
yeah, exactly. So I believe that they start off, it's either like 6 or 8 people, and you can choose to play as yourself and create your own profile, or you can make a catfish profile. So there's like,
Ooh.
yeah, and they all come from different backgrounds. There's this one girl named Chloe who's like a British influencer, so she plays as herself. There is this like 20-year-old college student named Jack who makes up like this 21-year-old girl named Emily who's like a partier, like and like that's his whole thing is like she's like rosé all day type girl, like sorority sister, and so that's who he's playing. And yeah, your goal is you're going to enter a main group chat where you talk to people. You can open up side chats where you have conversations with others. There's like these little challenges that they do where obviously they can't reveal themselves, so it turns into like either them answering questions anonymously, or like they'll get like art supplies and have to make something and upload a photo of it for people to look at, and so there's all these little challenges. And at the end of I don't even know how much time fucking passes in that show. It's very weird. Like maybe a day or two they do a re-vote, or I guess a vote for the first time, but they rank all of the people in the house, and depending upon how popular you are either blocked from the app or you're allowed to stay. And then like I said, the rules are very arbitrary, because then sometimes like people will just like come back, or like they'll bring on new people. I couldn't tell that the show was going to end until like the 13th, like when it was ending, because there's no there's no build up. It's not like, ooh, and now there's 3. It's just like, okay, and now the show is ending and these people are going to be ranked for the last time. It was a very weird experience.
Yeah, it's very strange, and like the way you interact is they say like circle message, and like you dictate the message you want to send, and then the producers behind the scenes send the message, and like there is an interface to it, but a lot of it is like studio magic, but these people aren't talking directly to each other. They're talking to either a group chat or just a single one-on-one chat, and they're saying, and it's being sent, and then messages are being sent back. So they and also when you leave the show, you can choose to meet one of the other players and like say goodbye and strategize, and that's really interesting. The cast is interesting. Like, I hate reality TV. I've said this before on this show and other shows. I don't like reality TV. I just don't get
I
into
live
it.
for it. It's bad,
What's
but
so
I love it.
Matt, I'm the same way. I don't watch reality TV. The only exception there are 2 exceptions. I would binge watch America's Next Top Model seasons because I like the photography.
Okay.
And I would and I like Survivor. That's like one that I stumbled
Okay.
into where I like it. But other than that, I don't watch Housewives. Like I don't watch any of that stuff. So I'm with you. I don't know
Yeah,
why I started The Circle, but
Yeah, mine are all like wild competition shows. So like at the
Yeah.
end, at least like somebody made something really cool out of blown glass, or ceramic or they cooked a really pretty dish, you know, like I like the craftsmanship ones.
Yeah.
And I do understand that they're very popular because of the writer's strike. So like here we are still. It's 2021 and we're still suffering because we just couldn't treat writers right.
Womp womp.
Just couldn't be nice to them.
We got to be nice to
Can
them.
give them money for streaming.
Yeah, I'm with you, Jess. I mean, I know why I started with it because 5 or 6 people that I talk to almost every day were all like, "Yo, did you see this thing? You have to watch it." And so I just got started and got hooked. But like, I think what's interesting about The Circle is that the people who choose to catfish justify it. And like, catfishing is bad, right? Like, we agree on that. But like in the show, they're finding a way to justify it. And then even as they build relationships, they act like they're building relationships directly when they're not, because they're pretending to be someone else. Like, one of the contestants is pretending to be her husband, using or the father of her child. I can't remember if they're married or not, if it's just
They're
a
married.
boyfriend. They are married. Okay. So it's her, she's pretending to be her husband and using her husband's photo and acting like a single dad. But then in later episodes in the second season is like bonding with someone and like, yeah, we're really getting, like, is talking about it like they're really getting close. And I'm like, but you're not, because you're not you. You know, it's really weird. It's fascinating. It's because it also looks at social media in a way. And like, I know at least the 3 of us are extremely online. And so like, it's interesting when you look at that and like the relationships you build. Like, obviously I feel a genuine kinship to Jessica, who I've become friends with over the internet, but like this show shows that you don't always know the people that you become friends with via a social media app. And it's interesting when they're forced to interact with each other.
I think, and kind of piggybacking off of that, something, and I'm obviously not gonna, it's a competition show. I'm not gonna spoil the ending or who wins or who's gone, whatever. But by the time that I did reach the end of the show, I was surprised at just how strong the connections are. And I think that it was kind of something that was like weirdly wholesome, is because like there were certain people who like when other characters, you know, not characters, they're people, but when other people were going home, they'd be like crying and there'd be like emotional reactions. And like it kind of goes to show, and once again, we'll tie this back to Invincible in a very strange minimal way, but I talked about like cynicism right now, right? Like I feel like, especially over the last couple years, particularly the last year, I think that a lot of people, as a result of like being home more, being online more, being away from people more, I think there's a lot more cynicism right now. I think that people are a lot more emotionally vulnerable. And I think that it was kind of weirdly refreshing to see that all of these random people could come together and form these actual emotional connections even without seeing one another. And at the end, you know, even if these people were catfish, even if it wasn't a real relationship, there was still like, I don't know, there was still that sense of connection there, you know? And it's like, granted, obviously catfishing is wrong. I'm not saying you should go and start catfishing people and it counts as like real connections. In the case of it being a reality game, it was cool, right? But like, and like they all kind of knew and they were all kind of cool with it because you know, like that's the nature of this game. You know, some people like, there might be some weird feelings in certain places, but you know, like that's the nature of the game. But the bonds that people formed were authentic, and it kind of goes to show that if you put humans together, like you can have that, like people genuinely care for one another. And it was a weird takeaway from a reality TV show about social media, so it was kind of nice.
I love that, actually. I like that it came. And like, I feel like a lot of reality TV tries to accomplish that. Some of them just try to generate drama, but there are a ton, especially like the ones that Rachel has told me about, that like ultimately want people to feel good. And I appreciate that this show does that too. Also, like, some of the participants are just genuinely sweet. Like, there's one, a gentleman from Texas who's an older queer man who's playing a young queer man.
He's so
and
good.
like he cries every time someone leaves, and it's like gets emotional at the strangest places. And like I, as someone who cried over everything growing up and didn't realize that was part of my bisexual card, is like I'm overly emotional because I'm queer. I didn't know that when I was younger, but like it just really felt really relatable, right? To see this older man getting so emotional on screen constantly for people that he realistically doesn't know that well, but felt like they got to know. It's fascinating.
Speaking of over emotional, do you hear this child of mine?
Your cat,
He's
yes.
losing his marbles.
Because you're not paying attention to him.
I am petting him literally right now.
Well, Jess, if you had to sum up the circle in just 3 words without using the words the or circle, what 3 words would you choose?
Not a square. No, I'm kidding.
Oh, this is why we're friends.
That's good. That's very good.
I would say, oh gosh, I feel so put on the spot. I'm so bad at this. I would say I what's a good word for something that's like junk food television, right? Like,
Ooh.
maybe trashy but touching.
Yeah. Trashy but touching. I like
Ooh,
that.
I
That's
like
very
trashy
good.
but touching.
I like that. That's actually very good.
That's really great. Case, please write down both of these 3 words. Not a square and trashy but touching. Thank you. You can put punctuation however you want, Case. I know you're gonna do periods.
Yeah,
so
we know
I've
you're
just
listening.
accepted it.
You're always listening.
Hi, Case.
That sounded creepy.
I love you, buddy.
Jess, before we wrap up the show, I want to take some time to talk about all of the awesome stuff you do. I want to read just a few things that the incredible Jessica Howard does. You are the managing editor at Uppercut. You're a games and entertainment writer at Uprocks. You're a news contributor at GameSpot. You co-host the Big 3 podcast with previous guest Nate, which is a My Hero Academia podcast. You have bylines on Pace Magazine, Collider, Gaming Magazine, Irrational Passions. And, of course, most importantly, you're bisexual. You're one of us. You do so much.
My proudest accomplishment.
Gobble.
Your proudest compliment. You're bi.
Yes.
Look, as one bisexual disaster to another, I understand. So I just want to say
Thank you.
You do so many awesome things. I've been a fan of your work for a long time. I've read a lot of your writing. I of course, loved your episode of Final Fantasy VII that you did for Side Quests. I want to talk a little bit about how you got into games. You teased earlier how you started playing some boy games recently. And, like, I'm just curious, like, where did your video game journey start? You know, how did you start playing games?
I have been playing video games literally since I could hold a controller. There is a photo of me in my pack and play as a baby holding a Super Nintendo controller. And like that's where it started. I remember playing like Tiny Toons, Buster Breaks Loose, and Zombies Ate My Neighbors, and Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past. Those were some of the first games I played on Super Nintendo. I think that games really started to like mean something to me with like Nintendo 64. I remember playing a lot of like Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask were some of the first games I was interested in. And then you know, everybody, I feel like it's kind of a joke. Everybody knows I'm very into Final Fantasy VII. But Final Fantasy VII is the game that made me realize, like, when I grow up, I want to do something involving video games. Like, that was it for me. I remember when my mom bought the game, she came home, her and my dad both took turns playing it. Whenever he was at work, she would play, vice versa. And she used to put the Chocobo races on automatic at the Gold Saucer and like let me sit in her lap when I was 4 years old and hold the controller. And I thought that I was racing the Chocobos.
Aww.
So like,
so sweet.
I grew up with that game. That game was I remember my parents getting into an argument over that game because my dad got the Knights of the Round materia, and so the final boss with Sephiroth was super easy for him. My mom didn't. She was pissed because it took her like 3 hours and she died. And like it turned into this whole spat. Like I remember this stuff. Like that game was a very like key part of me growing up, and it was the first game that made me realize like, wow, these can tell stories. Like these can be like the books that I read. These can make me cry. These can make me feel things. These can feel like company. And so I really fell in love with them. I also played a lot of simulation games growing up. You know, I credit The Sims for helping me discover I was bisexual.
Nice.
Also,
Yeah.
Harvest Moon. There's a reason why I liked all those village ladies. But yeah, I don't know. I really just, from a very, very early age, I really loved video games. And on top of that, I loved writing. Like, I remember since I was in kindergarten, I always had teachers being like, Jessica's a fantastic writer. Jessica's like, or, you know, like, writes all the time. Like, I was super, super into writing, and I was always praised. And so since I was a kid, I was always like, I want to do something involving video games, and I want to do something where I'm writing. And that's basically always stayed. I think the only deviation really was there was a time when I wanted to do music for a bit, when I was going through my punk phase, and I wanted to be a bass player. I mean, I do play bass, but like I was like, that's what I'm like, I'm gonna play music or I'm gonna do nothing. You know, like it was that whole mentality. And then for a little bit, I wanted to do history. So that's like also like a hidden passion. I was a history major in college. But at the end of the day, it was always video games and writing for me. And now I am doing something that involves both of those, and I'm really, really happy.
Yeah.
I love that. It's funny, though, I do have to say, as someone who is a decade older than you, when you said my mom and dad played Final Fantasy while I was a kid, like, which you also do tell that adorable story on your episode of Side Quests, I definitely turned to dust like Thanos immediately. I'm just like,
How old are you, Matt?
I'll be 38 in October.
Oh, you do not look it. I thought you were like 31.
Stop it.
I know. I'm
Go
not even
on.
kidding.
Stop
I truly did. I was like, there's no way. Like, you had to have been a kid too.
Well, thank you. I'll take those compliments and feast
we're
on
old
them.
and wizened
Yeah,
here
we are.
on Screen Snark. Don't get it twisted. We're a bunch of middle 30-somethings.
I do want to talk a little bit more focused about a few things. First, with Uppercut. So, for those who don't know, Uppercut is the best, gayest video game site on the planet.
Uppercutcrit.gay.
Yeah,
We actually own that.
it's the best.
It's
They
so
made my
stupid.
favorite T-shirt ever.
Gay. You gotta.
They make my favorite T-shirt that I wear all the time, which is a T-shirt that says "Video games are for everyone. Don't be an asshole," which is something I live by. But talk a little bit about being the managing editor for Uppercut, what that kind of means, and the kind of things you do there to kind of like grow and deliver incredible content on the site.
It's been a bit weird right now, just because I got the position at GameSpot basically a month ago. And then I got the position at Uproxx the following week. So, and then before that, and then I was doing an internship for Paste all of last year. So, or like all of the end of the year. So it's like I went from finishing my internship up and like being free in January to living in New York for all of January to coming back and then immediately getting 2 jobs. So Uppercut has kind of been a little bit on the back burner. I will not lie, but
That's fair.
it's gonna come back. But yeah, no, I mean, the great thing about Uppercut, and this is like the typical like, at this company we're family, but it's me and 4 other people, and when it comes down to it, we're all really just best friends. And so when I say I'm the managing editor, it's me managing, in quotes, my best friends, which sometimes need to be managed a little bit. But Ty is our editor-in-chief, and Ty is very much a big picture kind of person. editor type person, and I'm the opposite. I am the writer. I am the feelsy person. I am like the HR, like, hey, how's everybody feeling about this kind of person. I organize the meetings. I come up with the meeting rundowns. I'm the one who takes notes. Ty handles the finances. We're basically Ty is the husband and I'm the wife. That's the Uppercut dynamic. If we want to go very basic gender roles, Ty is my husband. I'm sure that they will appreciate me saying this.
I do too.
But yeah, and you know, a lot of what we do is we put out a couple podcasts every month. We have a couple. Well, we have one Patreon exclusive one. I do Pound Around, which is one that we do twice a month. First one is always a cultural, I don't know, not necessarily issue, but just something that's being talked about, right? Like this month we're doing the Wholesome Games Discourse. And that episode should be out here in the next few days. And then we do the end of the month episode, which is just kind of all of us bullshitting. We try to get all five of us together. We talk about the games that we've played. It's usually a mess. And I
love a mess.
I and like that's the great thing about Uppercut is I feel like people know what they're getting into with us. So a lot of times when you have a Patreon and when you have a site, when you're managing all this, there's like that pressure to present yourself a certain way and be like completely professional. But I feel like something that's really nice about our community is they like us being transparent, and they like we have this community of people who like each other for who they are and who like us for who we are. So it's just like a very freeing, nice, nurturing environment where we can have a podcast where we just goof off and people will, you know, text us or be on Discord and we can all talk about it and laugh, and it's a good time. So it's a very stress-free and fun environment. And I like the thing that we do that I love the most is we have managed to do a lot of really great like fundraising, which is like it's just like, I don't know. I think it really all comes down with the community that we've built. Like our community is incredible, and that's because we've always believed in being kind, not necessarily being positive, but always being kind, and being very proactive in making sure that everybody treats each other with respect. And so we have a lot of really loving, genuine, caring people who are in our community. And, you know, last year when EGM let all of those freelancers who had written pieces for them just kind of go without paying them, we managed to raise close to $14,000 to pay each one of those people $500 each and publish their pieces.
That's amazing.
Yeah, like that's
awesome.
Yeah, you know, and like for API, like we just did a fundraiser for that and raised close to $3,000 or $4,000 in one stream. Like we just did, you know, something the other day for Palestine relief, just raised like $1,000 too. Like we have people who come through for us, and like that is the most rewarding thing that we do. And I know that's such a cliche, like I want world peace thing, but that truly is like the thing that Uppercut does that I feel the most gratitude and satisfaction from, is like we have managed to create that really beautiful community and do a lot of good. And that's what's important to me. And as managing editor, I guess to get back to that question, you know, coordinating that stuff and working with everybody and figuring out like, hey, like we want to help, how can we help? And each time we do one of those things, it's literally one of us texts in the morning like, hey, something happened, can we do something about this? Like, yeah, what are you thinking? Okay, that sounds good, let's do it now. And we take action, and I'm really proud of all of us. I really love the people I work with. I love the community we've made. I really love Uppercut.
I love that. I love that community as well, and like I felt so welcomed in that, and I feel kinship also with the But Why Though community, which you also mentioned earlier.
Oh yeah, they're awesome. I know
you're friends with us. They're also awesome. But like, I do want to shift the conversation a little bit to talk about a thing that I know Rachel will have way more interest than I will, because I have not still watched it.
Yeah.
But
you are we gonna go beyond Plus Ultra now?
Yeah.
So you are one of the three hosts, along with Cam Koenig and the incredible Nathan Brandt, previous guest of this very show, where they also talked about My Hero Academia. You are part of the big three. So I would love for you to talk a little bit about what the big three is and kind of how that podcast got started. Because I think when Nate was here, they were thinking about maybe doing a podcast. I know that it came up, but I don't know that the podcast existed yet at that point.
Yeah. Which one of you slides through walls like Lemillion? That's my question.
I feel like that's got to be Nate.
Yeah,
Nate's
that sounds like a Nate thing.
Yeah, I would say so. I love My Hero. So,
oh my gosh,
originally,
just the greatest.
It's so good. I'm glad that you love it too.
It's so good. I know it's. We're watching season 5 now, and like my partner read the manga, and it's the thing that like brings me light and joy, and I just like it takes me to heaven every week.
You want to talk about like a piece of media that nails its themes too? That shit is good.
Yup.
But no, so the big three, Nate and Cam, have a podcast network, some good shows. And I guess, you know what though? I think when the big three started, they hadn't even launched that yet. It was like
Not yet, yeah.
In the works, and they kind of came to me and they're like, hey, we're thinking of doing this, and we're thinking of doing this show. And like, I know that you're super busy, but like you would be like dream pick. And I immediately like melted. I was like blushing. I was like, no, you two are so funny though. Like, why would you want me? You two are the funniest fucking people I've ever heard on a podcast, and you want me?
True.
And they're like, no, like we're so shy, like, because we know that you do all this stuff. I'm like, no, like you don't like, I am fangirling. You're not allowed to fangirl. I am fangirling now. So they came to me about it, and I was super, super on board. I started watching My Hero either during the first season, because I think I started watching it from the beginning. Yeah, I know I did. So yeah, I've been watching it from the beginning. I've read a bit of the manga. I want to actually be like caught up. I want to be manga current, but life is busy. And the idea of doing it was seriously two of the funniest people that I know. I was like, I got to do this show. And they're smart too. Like, that's the thing. I feel like the second that you say like, oh, these people are so funny, it like negates the fact that also they're brilliant conversationalists and incredibly observational. But like they do, like they both are so observant, especially like Nate. Nate has written a manifesto on My Hero. I'm scared to see it. Apparently one day we will see it, and I am terrified of that day. So it's just
I
really
want to see it. So I'm not even scared. I need this.
I kid you not. We are about to hit season 4, and I think that they said it's at 148 pages on Word.
Holy
Whoa.
socks.
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm like, I think
Yeah,
they're-
no, that makes sense.
Yeah. And like Nate is also now like a TikTok famous My Hero TikToker, which is also very
Right.
good.
Yes.
But yeah,
Well
just
deserved.
exactly. The thought of doing that show though, and talking about a show that I love with two people who like are just such a light, it was a no-brainer, and it's been such a good show. We delve into basically each episode. We cover about 3 to 4 episodes of the show, and we talk about the themes. We talk about it's a little bit more. It's not so much a recap as much as it's like a criticism, and criticism in like the way in which we're like analyzing it, not like criticism as in this show sucks, you know, because I feel like you have to distinguish that, because some people will still get on you whenever you say you're a critic. But yeah, so it's very, very good. And it's, you know, I think that I'm very antisocial. And a lot of times I will get nerves about doing like podcasts or streams or anything. Like I have very bad anxiety, and the big 3 is great because it is a surefire way every 2 weeks for me to do something, and like I always walk away like just like in such a good mood because I've spent the last 2 hours laughing. So shout out to that show. Shout out to Nate and Cam. They are both amazing.
I love those two humans. They were guests on certain CPOV autographs together. Nate was on this show. I was lucky enough to both be on the Video Game Robot show before it went under the new name. And more recently, I got to be on Hamburger Lore. And when I tell you, when Cam DM'd me and said, hey, do you think you'd want to be... Like, I couldn't say yes fast enough to being on that ridiculous nonsense show. Like... And it was everything I dreamed of. They make some of the best content on the internet, and it's why I know Pilnock through the internets, but like I got to know her through the two of them, and like that made having, and once I heard her on I think she was on Hamburglar first, or maybe she was on the Video Game Robot show first. But when I heard her on their show, I was like, oh, well, I have to bring her on Screen Snark. She's gonna be great. And very similarly, hearing you in the big three, because I've listened to the first episode because I've seen the first couple of episodes of My Hero, but I'm behind on everything. But like, I was like, oh, like I'd already been talking to you online already, but once I heard you on that show, I was like, oh, I have to have Jess on. She'd be great. And you are great. So I'm glad that you're enjoying making the show with them. I agree. I think that some good shows is good shows.biz, where the biz stands for business.
Exactly. But this isn't a
I think-
podcast about some good shows.
Right, exactly.
This is a podcast about some okay shows and some okay movies. This one right here that we're on. This one's a fine podcast.
It's fine. It's just fine.
It's a fine podcast.
That goes to show you, though, how good Nate and Cam's content is, because Matt and I both made inside jokes from their podcasts. So
Right.
You should definitely check out some good shows.
Absolutely. Jess, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
You are, I mean this with my entire heart, that you are a light on Twitter for me. I love interacting with you and chatting with you. I look forward to us being able to hang out in person in post-pandemic times. But
yes,
thank you for
please.
coming on the show.
Thank you.
This has been a pleasure. We're going to wrap up the show and ask our final question. But really quick before we do that, why don't you tell folks where they can find you and all you do on the internet?
You can find me over on Twitter at a wild Jessichu, and everything else that I do is linked through there. I live on Twitter, so you can probably find my address. Don't do that, but you please
don't
dox
do
me.
that.
Don't do that.
Hey,
don't do that.
don't.
No, don't do
Don't
that.
do
Actually,
it.
I'm
No
changing
matter
my mind.
what.
I
No
am
matter.
deleting my Twitter now.
No, our screen beans are very sweet babies.
Yeah,
They
they
are.
won't do
They
that.
would never.
They would never.
They would be like, I'm offended that Rachel would even say, don't do that. We weren't even thinking about it. Baby beans.
Yes, please go follow Jess on Twitter and check out all of her stuff. It's some of the best writing out there for video games, and all of Jess's content is definitely worth consuming. So please go check it out.
Yeah.
But now, before we ask Jess our final question, we do have some people to thank.
Yes, we do. Thank you, first and foremost, to John Presnell for the use of the song Aurora off the album Fair Game featuring Stefan Remble. The intro, outro. Good stuff. Good stuff.
Good stuff. Future guest of the pod, John
Future
Presnell.
guest. Still cooking. Don't
Still
worry.
cooking, working on it.
Look to the fall. Look to the,
To the
fall.
fall. Look.
Yon screen beans.
God, we're the worst. I also want to thank the incredible Katie Bug, who designed our incredible show art. You rule, it rules, we all rule.
Yeah. we all rule. We could be royals.
We could be royals. We're kings and queens on the throne. We pop champagne.
Just raise our toast.
There you go. You got me.
Yeah, I like that we went royals into kings and queens.
Yeah, we
Good
did.
for us.
That's good for us. That's how we roll.
Look at our pop music acumen. Jeez.
Jesus.
We play too much Fuser, don't we?
Yes, I mean
Yes.
that's how I got into Ava Max.
Yep. Where are we? What is this show?
Yeah, what are we doing? We also would like
It's
to.
almost 10:30 and Matt and I are dying now.
We're dying. This is what a mental breakdown looks like in podcast form.
This is what needing to go to bed looks like.
We want to thank our incredible fellow podcasters and incredible community at Certain POV.
Yeah, thank you. Come hang out with us over on our Certain POV Discord server.
Yep, you can find a permanent invite link on the website, certainpov.com. We
Yeah.
are cute. We are cute.
Go
That's true.
tell Case that you said hello and that I have stopped harassing him this week.
And of course, if you want to reach us, you can follow us at @screen_snark on Twitter. We are screensnarkpod at gmail.com. If you want to send us a missive telling us why you love us, we would love to read it and share it on the show. And of course, if you have a chance, please write us a review or a rating on your podcast platform of choice. It helps more folks find whatever the hell this is.
This very fine podcast.
This very fine podcast. But now, before we close out the show for realsies, Rachel has a final
Yes.
question for our guest.
I do, Jess. I am so interested to know as a writer, if you could select one trope from cinematic language, movies or TV, to instantly and magically be true in your life, which trope would you choose?
Oh God, that's so hard. Cause like I'm married, right? Like I love romantic tropes, but like, This is. I wish that I would have been like told this at the very beginning because I needed an hour and 20 minutes to think about this.
That's why we ask now.
You thought the 3 words took me a minute. Let's see, a trope. They hate each other, but there's only one bed.
I love that trope.
Strange bedfellows. You're knocking on the door of it happened one night for me, and that means a lot. Oh, the walls of Jericho are coming down.
That's always the good fanfic trope.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Bakugo and Deku. They're on vacation. There's only one bed.
Okay, here. You want to know my problematic My Hero Academia ship?
Always. Forever.
I just really love Bakugo and Uraraka. I mean, it's not problematic because there are some people who like ship like teachers and students, and that shit's weird. But everybody's always like, I don't know about Bakugo and Uraraka. And I'm like, but like, think about it. Think about it.
I don't know, because Kirishima is there, and I think Kirishima is exactly what Bakugo needs, because he's like literally tough enough to deal with this bullshit and like naive enough that he's just not gonna give up, you know? Like,
that is true. Kirishima, I get it. I do get it.
Or Uraraka just deserves the moon.
I love her so much. I don't know. I think
it's a good ship though. It's very like what is it? The Fire Lord Sun and Katara.
Yes,
very much
Zuko.
that. The Zuko Katara pairing of just like, you need a calming influence, you fiery asshole.
It's 100% that ship, which is also a ship that I support because I just love that
good ship. Yeah,
it's a good one.
But yeah, I've seen too much fan art of Bakugo calling Uraraka pink cheeks and her blushing, and I was like, you know what? I love it. Make it true.
Yeah.
Big if true.
Just they're all in those dorms. Why not polycule? Let's go. They're teens. Except for Mineta. Mineta's never invited.
No, Mineta
always goes to the grocery store at just that moment.
Mineta needs to be expelled.
Oh my gosh. I'm season 5 though, and I'm just like, can we trade Mineta for Shinzo, please and thank you?
Okay, we got to stop this podcast because I could go.
We have to get out of here. We're gonna go for
Shinzo
our
and
whole
Aizawa
lives.
are my husband and my son, and I love them.
Yes, I would die for them. I would die for Shinzo.
I was gonna say, when Jess mentioned the 2 people 1 bed trope, I was like, oh, so you mean Jess and Garrus? They just happen to be in a room and there's 1 bed.
Oh my gosh,
sorry.
She did that right as I drank water. That was almost just.
That was almost a mess. Sorry.
That's what I was about to say, and I was like, I shouldn't say that. It's too charged right after talking about being in a bed with Garrus.
Well, thank you again, Jess, for joining us. This was a delight.
Thank you, Jess.
You were a delight.
It was so nice talking to both of you.
And before we close out, I do, of course, want to thank my stunning, fiery red-headed, badass co-host, the incredible Rachel Quirky Shank.
And I want to thank my weirdly feminist horror co-host, Matt, a.k.a. Stormageddon.
That's me. I'm weirdly feminist.
Weirdly feminist horror.
And thank you, listeners.
That's actually pretty perfect.
It is pretty perfect.
It's a descriptor. I want to be that too.
I'll take that.
I'm also that.
I dub you that as well. And of course, thank you to our listeners who made it through whatever the hell that was. We appreciate you to the ends of the earth and back, and we will see you at the movies or on a couch somewhere. Bye-bye.
Attention comedy musicians and comedy music fans. The Logan Awards are taking open nominations for outstanding comedy songs and videos released last year for this year's awards. Did you release a comedy song or music video last year, or have a favorite comedy song or video that was released last year? Then nominate it for the Logan Awards today. What are the Logan Awards? To put it simply, they're the Comedy Music Awards, presented annually by the Funny Music Project, and are presented in 3 categories: Outstanding Original Comedy Song, Outstanding Parody Song, and Outstanding Comedy Music Video. If you have a comedy song that was released last year that you'd like to nominate for this year's awards, head to LoganAwards.com and click the Nominations tab at the top. There is a minimum and maximum of 5 nominations per person. Hurry! Nominations close this year on May 28th. For more details about Logan himself, the awards, and more, check out LoganAwards.com. Help us commemorate the year's best comedy songs and music videos with a trophy, the way they do with every other form of entertainment. But if you want your favorites to win, you have to nominate them by May 28th. Get your nominations in now at LoganAwards.com, brought to you by TheFump.com.
Did you know Rob Thomas has been writing since the mid-90s?
The Matchbox 20 guy?
No, the guy behind Veronica Mars.
Oh, and iZombie.
And Cupid, Party Down, the Cupid reboot.
I haven't seen those.
Me neither, but we should watch them and then talk about them on our podcast.
Yes. We could call it the Rob Thomas.
No, not that one.
Robcast.
Every other Tuesday with Alex and MJ.
Find us at notthatrobcast.libsyn.com or wherever you download podcasts.
CPOV. CertainPOV.com.